I didn't know what Pimp Your TV was about. I think most people would understand TV to mean television. I know I did. It was my girlfriend's favorite show, and she wanted me to go on it with her. I had no idea what it was about. At the time, I was a normal man. I worked in a meaningless job. I had one friend at work called Tuile, but he often had to go away on long business trips, and lately he had been around even less. We used to go to the pub together and watch the football and talk about our girlfriends. My girlfriend Leonore and I had lived together for years in a small house in the suburbs. Leonore had been on at me for months to go on Pimp Your TV with her. I can tell you that you should never agree to go on a television show you don't know anything about. All I knew was the show's catchphrase, "Don't judge a woman until you have walked a mile in her shoes." After several late nights at work and missing Tuile, I felt that maybe I ought to think about Leonore. Had I been neglecting her? Perhaps. So I decided, by way of an apology to her, to agree to go on the show. I booked tickets. I was exhausted from the hours putting in at work. When we got to the studio, I noticed that there were a number of couples like us, but the audience were mainly women. I didn't think much of it though, as Leonore was really thrilled to be on the show at last, and her excitement had got to me too. Neither of us had been on television before. There was a sign at the back of the stage which said, "Pimp Your TV, don't judge a woman until you have walked a mile in her shoes." Just as we were about to take our seats, Angelina, one of the women in the camera crew, came over and asked if we would mind appearing on the show as the contestants. Leonore agreed without asking me, and before I knew it we were asked to sign disclaimers. We hastily signed them on hearing that they didn't exclude liability for serious injury or death. They then took us off to different rooms to ask us a few questions about our relationship. Then just before we were due to go on camera, Angelina explained that I needed to have my makeup done. "You're joking, only gays wear makeup," I said. "Everyone on camera wears makeup," Angelina replied, showing me a short clip of a news reporter having his makeup done before going on set. So I agreed to have my makeup done. Whilst we were having our makeup done, the audience were told to vote, based on our answers, on whether they thought Leonore was the more dominant of the two of us or I was. The less dominant one of us would be appearing on the show as the hostess Harley's assistant. Here's tonight's guests, Leonore and Louis. As regular viewers know, Lily left the show last week, which means I will need a new assistant. Leonore has agreed that whoever loses tonight's Battle of the Sexes will be appearing as my uniformed assistant in the remaining shows of the series. Tonight, our studio audience will help us decide who will be my new assistant. After that, we were then told to stand either side of Harley whilst she asked us questions. There was a male gender symbol sign and the words "men of the house" over me, and a female gender symbol sign and the words "woman of the house" over Leonore. Harley asked Leonore, "Leonore, how long have you been together?" Leonore couldn't remember. Harley asked me, "Louis, are you a man's man or a modern man?" I replied that I was a man's man. Harley asked Leonore, "Who does the vacuuming?" "Louis does." Harley asked me, "Who pays the household bills?" "Leonore does." Harley asked Leonore, "Who does the ironing?" "I used to, but these days, Louis does." Harley then asked me, "Who does the washing up?" "I do," I replied. At the end of the round, the audience were invited to vote, and the words behind me changed to "woman of the house" and the words behind Leonore changed to "man of the house." So Leonore and Louis, our studio audience, feels that Leonore is the man of the house and Louis is the woman of the house. As Leonore won the round, she is going to stay in the studio whilst you go to the spa and are prepared for the next round, Louis. As this is a family show, the cameras won't follow you into the changing room or shower. So I was taken through to the green room and invited before the cameras again as two beautiful blonde women in black wet look swimsuits and shiny black stilettos shoes flank me, showing off the TV show sign. I was given a special cream, I later learnt was called Nair, and told to put it on before going through to the shower. I then heard Harley announce through the intercom, "It's rather steamy in your shower, Louis, to guarantee that you can't be seen by our cameras." "Are you comfortable that you can't be seen?" Yes, I can barely see my hands in front of my face. When you come out of the shower, you need to pick a bathrobe and underwear. One will be on your left, the other on your right. Depending on which one you choose, will determine the type of makeover you are given. I felt somehow slightly colder, despite the steam, when I got out of the shower. I picked the bathrobe on the right. Whilst I was drying myself off and putting the bathrobe on, I later learned that Harley was explaining what was happening to the audience. It's well known that the male side of the brain is the left side of the brain and that female side of the brain is the right side of the brain. It's also a fact that male to female transsexuals think more with the right side of the brain than cisgender males. So if Lewis picks the bathrobe on the right, he will be returning to the green room in a pink silk bathrobe and black lace panties, but if he picks the bathrobe on the left, he will be wearing a blue towel bathrobe and boxer shorts. If Lewis chooses pink, he will be given a full feminine makeover, but if he chooses blue, he will only be wearing the same makeup as male news reporters do. I came out in the pink bathrobe to cheers from the audience. I was then told that the two ladies in the swimsuits would now come through for me. After going through to the spa room, I felt tired and fell asleep. While I was sleeping, the hostess told the audience that the cameras would now film my treatment as breasts were attached to my chest and a matching black lace bra, with the panties I had selected, put over them. I was then fitted with nearly black seam stockings and suspenders. Then black stiletto shoes were locked round my ankles and I was put into a French maid's outfit with a white petticoat similar to a tutu. The effect of the dress was to give padding to my butt that gave me a really feminine shape. The skirt was, however, fairly short and you could see my suspenders and the lace tops of my stockings. My fingernails were painted crimson red. Then a black ribbon was put round my neck with a tag attached to it saying Louisa. Then a blonde wig was fixed onto my head with a white French maid's cap. Then foundation cream, eyeshadow and mascara was applied before a blindfold was put over my eyes. I was fast asleep, but I do remember feeling what I thought was Leonore touching my lips with her finger. I later learned it was crimson lipstick being applied. I was then brought back into the studio in a wheelchair before being placed on a studio chair. I woke to the sound of a bell being rung. I later learned this was the bell Harley rang to call her maid. I was asked before I took the blindfold off if I would agree to wear whatever I was wearing now home from the show. Not knowing any better and not wanting to appear a spoilsport, I said yes. Then I took off my blindfold to howls of laughter. I stood up to ask the audience what they were laughing at. However, the shock of my feet connecting with the ground in my stiletto shoes meant I went flying. This all happened on camera and the camera filmed an upskirt shot of my panties. This became one of the most popular clips on YouTube. Leonore came rushing over to help me up as Harley explained that Leonore would be showing me my new look. I noticed that Leonore was dressed in a sexy French maid's outfit and I said, "Wow babe, you look hot." Then she replied, "Well babe, you don't look so bad yourself," before spinning round a full-size mirror to reveal the French maid outfit I was wearing. Before I could ask why she had done this, Harley called out again, "Pimp your TV," to which the audience shouted, "Don't judge a woman until you have walked a mile in her shoes." Harley explained that Leonore had chosen for one of us to be a French maid for the series. I had lost and was therefore committed, having signed the disclaimer, to being that maid. "But I am an ordinary straight guy." Harley replied, "Well, you could have fooled me. The audience thought you were more the woman of the house than Leonore. When you came out of the shower you could have chosen to dress as a man, but you chose the panties." Between the last round and the end of the show there was a pause. Harley explained that, whilst she was a drag queen, she knew lots of modern straight men like me who secretly liked to crossdress, and was I not secretly enjoying this? At this point I rubbed my hand on my stockings and felt a tinge of electricity. This was exciting and humiliating at the same time. This was the first time I had started to think of what I was wearing as my clothing. A normal heterosexual guy dressed as a French maid. Are you not now indeed thinking of what you are wearing as your clothing, Louisa? I nodded. Harley laughed. "That's my girl." And that is the story of how I, a previously normal heterosexual guy, came to be Louisa, the most popular French maid on Pimp Your TV. I was about to walk home in a French maid's outfit.